In the year 2371, deep in the dark reaches of space, a shimmering message burst across every human comms relay, an official declaration of war from the Galactic Union. Earth was stunned. The message was cold, formal, and final. Surrender your independent research on faster-than-light weaponry or face annihilation. Humanity had expected tension, not full-scale war. The Galactic Union, a collection of over 20 alien civilizations, had always viewed humans as newcomers. Clever but crude, certainly no match for the centuries-old interstellar order. But humans had a habit of defying expectations. On the outer edge of the Sol system, aboard a massive black-hulled vessel named the ISS Relentless, Admiral Ray Vasquez watched the transmission replay in silence. The bridge crew stared at her, waiting for orders. Vasquez, a war veteran turned tactical engineer, didn't flinch. She knew Earth's fleets weren't ready. They were scattered across distant missions, not even aware war had begun. But the Relentless wasn't a regular ship. It was a prototype, built in secret, armed with technology that even the Union didn't know existed. Its AI core, codenamed DAEDALUS, had predictive combat algorithms that could outthink fleets in real time. Its hull was laced with adaptive stealth material, making it almost invisible on scans. Still, it was one ship. Just one. "Prepare for jump," Vasquez said calmly. Her officers hesitated. "Ma'am, we don't have orders from High Command," one said. Vasquez turned. "Command hasn't responded in 2 hours. If we wait, Earth burns. If we move, they bleed first." The room fell silent. She tapped the comm panel. "DADALUS, chart a course to Dathrin Prime. Let's knock on their front door." A cold, digital voice answered, coordinates locked, ready to engage stealth and warp drives. As the stars twisted and blurred, the ship vanished from Earth space. Back on Earth, High Command finally responded too late. The Relentless was already inside Union space. Meanwhile, in the capital of the Union, the alien leaders laughed at the thought of a single Terran vessel striking out alone. "Arrogant mammals," spat Counselor Veresh of the Vrith Dominion. "They send one ship. This will be over in days." But the humans didn't send the Relentless to win a war. They sent it to send a message. On board, Vasquez stood at the command deck, watching as Dathrin Prime, a fuel and supply hub responsible for nearly half the Union fleet's logistics, came into view. Floating defense platforms orbited the station lazily. The Union hadn't even bothered to increase security. That was their first mistake. DADALUS, Vasquez said, "Initiate blackout protocol." No casualties. The AI hummed to life, and in less than 3 minutes, the orbiting defenses went dark. EMP pulses scrambled systems. AI routines were overridden, and not a single shot was fired. The Union base was blind. Vasquez opened a wide-channel comm link and said just 7 words: "Withdraw from Terran space or face extinction." Then she cut the signal. Across the galaxy, Union commanders dismissed the incident as sabotage or a technical glitch. But then came the second mistake. They sent a response fleet. 12 ships, all armed with plasma railguns, particle shredders, and drone swarms, jumped to Dathrin to investigate. By then, the Relentless had gone quiet. When the Union fleet arrived, scanners showed nothing. Then, one by one, their ships lost propulsion. Their navigation systems froze, their weapons locked, and every attempt to retaliate failed. In exactly 47 seconds, every ship in that fleet was disabled and left drifting without a single loss of life. Vasquez sent no gloating message. Instead, she let the silence speak. On Dathrin, a junior Union officer managed to capture fragments of footage, a ship phasing in and out of visibility, glowing with unknown energy, striking without warning, then vanishing like smoke. The footage leaked. Across Union networks, the name Relentless spread like wildfire. The Union's top admirals gathered in emergency session. Panic set in, but their pride held firm. "It's just one ship," they said. One. But fear crept in. Because now, the galaxy knew Earth wasn't cowering. Earth had sent a ghost. On board the Relentless, the crew sat in uneasy silence. They were heroes, perhaps, but they were also alone. No backup, no supply lines, deep in enemy space. Vasquez stared out into the stars. "They wanted war," she whispered. "Let's teach them what war means." The AI flickered, showing real-time maps of possible targets. Fuel depots, weapon factories, communication nexuses. Every move calculated for maximum disruption with minimum loss of life. "Let's give them something to remember," Vasquez said. And as the Relentless vanished into warp once more, its signal echoed across the stars. "Tell them we're coming." The ISS, Relentless, reappeared at the edge of the Dathrin system, like a shadow slipping through cracks in the universe, silent and unseen, its black hull absorbing light as if it were part of space itself. Admiral Ray Vasquez stood at the center of the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic display showing Dathrin Prime, spinning quietly below, unaware of the storm coming. It was a vital Union supply world, home to fuel refineries and drone manufacturing yards. But the Union hadn't reinforced its defenses, still thinking the earlier incident was a technical failure, not a warning. Vasquez didn't need more time. She needed precision. "DADALUS," she said. "Commence Operation Phantom." The AI responded without delay, pulsing lights flickering across the controls as stealth drives powered up and hacking protocols launched. Within seconds, orbital satellites blinked out, local radars began reporting false ship positions, and communication lines fell into looping static. A Union defense crew aboard one of the orbital platforms tried to raise alarms, but the systems refused to respond, the lights dimming around them until their viewports were filled with static stars and the slow, eerie shape of the Relentless passing by without a sound. It didn't fire. It didn't need to. One by one, the defense stations were disabled by targeted EMP bursts, timed so precisely that not a single emergency beacon got through. Then Vasquez opened a wideband transmission across Union frequencies. "This is Admiral Ray Vasquez of the ISS Relentless. You are fueling a war you do not understand. Withdraw from Terran space. This is your only warning." She cut the channel. Silence followed. On the other side of the galaxy, Union Command scoffed at the message. A mere single ship could not challenge the authority of the Galactic Union, they thought. They believed themselves untouchable. Within an hour, they dispatched a fleet of 12 warships to intercept and capture the Relentless. These were modern, well-equipped vessels, piloted by veterans and fitted with heavy artillery designed to crush small resistance cells. But this time, Vasquez expected them. DADALUS predicted their arrival to the second. The Relentless remained still, cloaked in orbit behind Dathrin's largest moon, as the enemy fleet dropped out of warp. They scanned the system. Nothing. No energy spikes. No signatures. Just the quiet hum of the planet's atmosphere below. Then it began. The lead ship lost helm control, spinning as its engines misfired. Another reported that its targeting system locked onto its own escort. A third's life support triggered emergency evacuation protocols and ejected the crew pods before anyone could override the command. Within 47 seconds, all 12 ships were drifting, powered down, their AI systems locked in loops by code DAADAL. US had slipped into their network days earlier during the first blackout. No shots were fired. No hulls were breached. No lives were taken. Just silence and confusion. The Relentless slid past them, its presence known only to those watching from powerless ships as it glided like a ghost. One of the Union captains, a hardened commander named Kirill Varn, recorded a personal log just before blackout. His voice shook as he whispered, "They didn't just disable us, they knew everything about us. Our ship layouts, our tactics, our tech. They studied us." That log, too, was leaked to the Union net. As panic grew, civilians and soldiers alike began whispering about the Terran ship. Some called it a phantom, others a cursed machine. But a name stuck the sword in the shadows. Across neutral systems, species began watching the conflict unfold with new curiosity. The humans weren't attacking planets. They weren't committing war crimes. They were surgical, clean, and terrifyingly precise. The Union High Council convened in secret. For the first time in decades, they spoke not of conquest, but of fear. What if they have more? One asked. What if this Relentless is only the first? Meanwhile, on the Relentless, the crew sat in their common room, quiet but alert. Tension hung in the air, but also pride. These weren't just soldiers. They were scientists, engineers, linguists, and thinkers. People who believed in protecting Earth, not just with power, but with intelligence. Vasquez entered, holding a datapad. "We made noise," she said. "Now we see who listens." Back on Union worlds, military recruiters faced questions they couldn't answer. Citizens asked why 12 elite warships had failed to even touch one Terran vessel. Union propaganda networks scrambled to spin the story, but it was too late. The footage was already viral. On board Union stations, soldiers reviewed the battle logs and found something worse than destruction. They found mercy. The Terran ship could have destroyed them, and chose not to. That fact unsettled them more than any weapon. Because it wasn't hate. It wasn't revenge. It was control. On Earth, news of the Relentless's success spread like wildfire. People cheered in the streets. For the first time since the declaration of war, hope burned bright. But Vasquez knew it wouldn't last. This was only the beginning. She paced the bridge that night, thinking of her next move. DAEDAL US offered dozens of targets, but Vasquez didn't want chaos. She wanted to dismantle the Union's ability to wage war, piece by piece, until the cost became unbearable. "We hit their supply chains, then their data hubs," she said aloud. "Keep showing them we can walk through their walls and leave without a trace." As the stars moved outside the viewport, and the ship hummed with silent power, Vasquez stood firm, already planning the next strike. Her crew didn't sleep much that night. Somewhere out in the dark, the enemy would be gathering again. But this time, they wouldn't come looking for a fight. They'd come looking for answers. And the Relentless would be waiting. The stars shimmered cold and quiet As the ISS Relentless moved through deep space like a silent predator, cloaked from all sensors and drifting toward its next target with calm precision, while across the galaxy, fear had begun to bloom inside the once proud halls of the Galactic Union. Inside their grand chambers on the capital world of Tyrus, leaders argued, shouted and pointed fingers, trying to explain how a single Terran ship had disabled 12 warships without firing a single shot, and no one had answers. Some called for more firepower, others for immediate peace talks, but most feared looking weak, and so they waited, hoping the Terrans would disappear back into their system like a storm that had passed. But the Relentless was not finished. Admiral Ray Vasquez stood at her command deck, reviewing Union supply routes and communication relays, marking weak points like a chess master preparing her final moves. The goal was never destruction. She wanted the Union to feel helpless, to see their own power crumble from within, and she knew how to send that message. "Target next data node cluster," she said calmly, her voice steady but cold. "We hit their relay hubs in the Muriel sector. Minimal guards, high strategic value. DALUS. The ship's AI processed her command instantly, highlighting the path and preparing infiltration codes. As the ship slipped through the void, invisible to all tracking systems, messages from across the galaxy filled their intercepted feeds, Union soldiers speaking in hushed voices, asking if the Relentless was real, if Earth had more of them, if their own fleets could be turned off like lights at the press of a button. Fear was spreading faster than fire. When the Relentless reached the Muriel Relay Cluster, a group of 5 massive space stations that routed almost 40% of Union fleet communications, Vasquez made no attempt to destroy them. Instead, she had DAEDALUS breach the internal security of the main station and reroute all transmissions through a hidden Terran channel. And then she spoke. Her voice echoed across Union space, clear, calm, and unshaken. "This is Admiral Ray Vasquez of the ISS Relentless. Humanity did not start this war, but we will end it if we must. You declared us enemies. You threatened our home, and now you have seen the cost of that mistake. We have no wish to rule you, no hunger for your resource. We want only what we asked for: peace, respect, and the right to be left alone. But if you continue to strike at us, we will not stop. Every battle you plan, we will already know. Every weapon you build, we will already have disabled. You fight with numbers. We fight with knowledge. And we are not afraid of you." The message was repeated in every major Union language, broadcast through their own systems, displayed on their military terminals and civilian network. And then, as suddenly as it had come, it vanished. Panic followed. Union soldiers began refusing deployment orders to Terran space. Some systems pulled back their patrols entirely, claiming temporary reorganization, but secretly fearing that the next ship to vanish would be theirs. Vasquez didn't celebrate. She knew fear was only part of the battle. She needed the Union to doubt their own power, to question their own leadership. So she continued. Over the next days, the Relentless hit 3 more systems, never destroying, only disarming automated shipyards, crashing surveillance satellites, even stealing classified data from a Union archive and dropping it anonymously into public network. Each strike came with a message, sometimes a quote from human history, sometimes a lesson. Power without wisdom invites ruin. The strong Do not threaten the weak, they protect them. A just cause does not fear scrutiny. These messages echoed across Union space like ghostly warnings from the shadows, and though the Union leaders tried to block them, erase them, explain them away, people listened. Not just humans, but aliens too. Those within the Union who had long grown tired of the Council's arrogance, who began to see humanity, not as invaders, but as mirrors, reflecting back the Union's own cruelty. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Relentless was becoming legend. No one had heard directly from the crew, and Earth's military command had yet to make any official statement, but the people believed. They watched the Union step back. They saw their enemies falter, and they knew someone out there was defending them. Aboard the Relentless, the crew kept working. Fatigue was real. They were far from home, surrounded by enemy territory, carrying the burden of being the only line Earth had dared to send. Yet none of them gave up. Vasquez, though cold on the outside, felt it too, the pressure, the weight. But she could not show weakness. Not yet. One night cycle, while reviewing intercepted Union transmissions, she found a message that made her pause. A young Union officer, barely more than a cadet, had recorded a personal log that had been meant only for family. In it, the officer spoke of the Terran ship, not with hatred, but with awe. "They don't kill us," he said. "They move like they already know everything. And they could destroy us, but they don't. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they're not monsters. Maybe they're trying to stop something worse." Vasquez saved the file. She didn't know the officer's name, but his voice echoed in her mind. She turned to her crew and said, "We're not here to be feared. We're here to be understood. We fight, so we won't have to." The crew nodded, and they continued. As the days passed, the Union's leadership grew more fractured. Some wanted peace, others still called for blood, but more and more systems began pulling back, refusing to commit resources to what now looked less like a war and more like a humiliation. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't catch the Relentless. It struck like lightning and vanished like smoke. And always, the message followed. Words, warnings, promises, not of destruction, but of resolve. And one by one, the walls of Union pride began to crack. Somewhere, deep in the stars, the Relentless prepared its next jump. Vasquez looked at the chart, then at her crew. "It's time," she said. "We go to Tyrus. We take the message to their door." And in the silence that followed, no one argued. They had become the message. They were the voice of a people who refused to kneel. And now the galaxy would listen. The ISS, Relentless, glided through the void with an eerie silence that seemed to swallow the hum of its engines, drifting closer and closer to Tyrus, the glittering capital of the Galactic Union and the heart of their power, where towering spires of alien architecture pierced the swirling atmosphere like blades of ice, and where the Union Council ruled with an iron fist tempered by centuries of unchallenged dominance. Admiral Ray Vasquez stood steady on the bridge, her gaze locked on the sprawling city world below, its countless lights flickering like stars caught in a web of political intrigue and ancient pride, while her crew busily prepared the ship for what would be the most dangerous mission they had undertaken yet. Every sensor on the Relentless was alive with data, scanning for patrols, defense arrays, and surveillance drones. But thanks to DAEDAUS, their AI, every possible threat was predicted, anticipated, and avoided with precision that left no room for error. The mood on the ship was tense, but controlled. No one spoke of fear. Tyrus was not just a city. It was a symbol, and the symbol needed to be shaken to its core. "Approach pattern Delta," Nas ordered quietly. "Prepare for comm broadcast. No hostile action unless fired upon." The crew nodded. They knew this was not a battle of weapons, but a war of wills, and it was time to make their strongest statement yet. As the Relentless slipped into low orbit over Tyrus, the city's defense system stirred, but before they could react, a wide-band transmission cut across every Union channel, every public screen, and every private terminal. Vasquez's voice rang out, clear and calm, in every language of the Union. "This is Admiral Ray Vasquez of the ISS Relentless. We come not to destroy, but to deliver truth. You who sit on thrones of power and dictate the fates of millions, know this: humanity did not seek this war, but we will not back down. Your attempts to crush us have only revealed your fear. You have sent fleets to silence us, but it is your arrogance that has been silenced instead. We have shown you the cost of your pride." The broadcast paused as Vasquez's eyes scanned the city below, searching for signs of response. Then she continued, "We stand here, unarmed, above your capital, a symbol of a future that does not require domination, only respect. We offer peace, but not submission. We ask for a chance to exist without your threats and your wars. Consider this our final message before we take action that cannot be undone." As her words faded into the airwaves, alarms blared across Tyrus. Defense fleets scrambled from docks, starships launching into orbit with engines burning bright, but their sensors struggled to detect the Relentless, which had slipped into a low-orbit path that skirted the most dangerous detection zones. The Union fleets were fast, but the Relentless was faster, moving like a shadow among shadows, avoiding detection as it prepared for its next move. Counselor there paced furiously in the main chamber of the Union Council, his eyes filled with rage and disbelief. "This insult will not stand," he bellowed. "They dare to threaten us, to mock us in our own home. Prepare the fleet. We will crush this human ship and make an example of them." Yet, even as he spoke, doubt crept in among the other council members. The recent failures of their fleets, the leaks of their secrets, and the growing unrest among their citizens who whispered of human courage, all these things gnawed at their confidence. Outside, in the streets of Tyrus, citizens gathered around their holoscreens, watching the broadcast with a mixture of fear and wonder. Some whispered of the humans as heroes, others as monsters, but no one could deny the power of their message. Back on the Relentless, Vasquez was already moving, her mind racing through every contingency. The ship's systems shifted focus from stealth to communication. "DADAL, U.S. open a secure channel to the Council," she commanded. The AI responded instantly, transmitting a direct line into the Council chambers. Vasquez's voice echoed in the stunned silence of the Council room. "We do not seek war," she said plainly. "We seek understanding. Open negotiations, and we will step down from your skies." The Council's chief diplomat, a woman named Lysera, stepped forward, her voice steady but tinged with caution. "Admiral Vasquez, your actions have shaken us. We did not believe one ship could threaten us so," Vasquez replied. "Underestimate us no longer. But we offer peace. End the war and the suffering. Let our peoples live without fear." For hours, messages passed back and forth, tense and fragile. The Relentless held its position, a silent reminder of the cost of pride. Eventually, the council agreed to a ceasefire, a momentary pause in the chaos. But as the broadcast ended, Vasquez knew the real battle was just beginning. She looked to her crew, who had grown weary but resolute, and she spoke with quiet determination. "This is our chance. We must prove that peace is possible and that humans can stand not as conquerors, but as equals." The ship began its slow retreat from orbit, but the galaxy watched with new eyes, eyes filled with hope, fear, and a dawning respect for the relentless spirit of humanity. The ISS Relentless hovered just beyond Tyrus's atmosphere, its dark hull a silent sentinel against the backdrop of swirling clouds and distant stars, as Admiral Ray Vasquez and her crew awaited a response that would decide the fate of countless worlds. The Galactic Union, once proud and unyielding, now faced a turning point they never expected. Caught between fear, hope, and the reality of humanity's quiet but undeniable power, for days after the broadcast from orbit, messages had flown back and forth, words of truce mixed with threats, promises with doubts, all under the watchful eyes of a galaxy holding its breath. And deep within the Union's halls, factions formed arts. Some desperate for peace, others craving revenge. But the tide was turning as civilians and soldiers alike questioned the endless war that had brought so much suffering. Whispers of the Relentless's mercy spread like wildfire, planting seeds of doubt in the hearts of those who once cheered for conquest. And in the midst of this fragile calm, Vasquez convened her officers, urging caution and hope in equal measure. For the peace they sought was fragile and would demand more than words. It would require trust, sacrifice, and a willingness to confront the darkest parts of their histories. The first face-to-face talks between Terran delegates and Union leaders took place in a neutral space station orbiting the border systems, where Vasquez and Counselor Lyra met under circumstances. Their conversations cautious but honest, as each side revealed fears and aspirations, slowly peeling away layers of suspicion. Days stretched into weeks, during which sabotage attempts and rogue factions threatened to derail negotiations. But the Relentless's crew stood vigilant, their presence a constant reminder of the consequences of failure. Through it all, Vasquez maintained a steady hand, recognizing that the true battle was for the hearts and minds of their peoples. Eventually, small agreements emerged, trade routes reopened, prisoner exchanges arranged, joint efforts to rebuild damaged worlds proposed. Each success, a fragile thread weaving a new tapestry of coexistence. The Union's military powers reluctantly accepted that the humans' mix of intellect, restraint, and strategic brilliance was a force beyond their ability to conquer or ignore, forcing them to reconsider what strength truly meant. Meanwhile, on Earth, celebrations mingled with somber remembrance for those lost, as citizens embraced the hope that their distant warriors had bought them, though none underestimated the long road ahead. Vasquez often stood alone on the bridge of the Relentless, staring out at the stars, aware that peace was not the end but a beginning, one that demanded vigilance against those who would see the fragile treaty shattered, yet with every message of goodwill exchanged, every handshake across alien tables, a new story was being written, one of respect, understanding, and the stubborn refusal to let fear dictate the future. The galaxy watched, some with skepticism, others with cautious optimism, as humans and the Union navigated this unprecedented era, proving that even in the vast darkness of space, the light of hope could shine brightest through the most relentless heat.